You are listening to CrossTalk, a safe place to discuss addiction, recovery, harm reduction, and everything in between. Support for this podcast comes from the Kentucky Opioid Response Effort and Advocates of Recovery. Content and production by the team at Turning Point Recovery Community Center.
Good afternoon, Frankfort, Kentucky. Yeah, come on up closer. Good afternoon. My name is Van Ingram. I'm director of the Kentucky Office of Drug Control Policy, and I'm glad to be here. You know, a couple of weeks ago, we had a story to tell. It was International Overdose Day, and we had to tell the story of how overdose is devastating our country and it's devastating our state. But today's story is equally as important, and that is that we have thousands of people in recovery in Kentucky. We're fixing to launch a program called Recovery Ready Communities on a bill that was sponsored by Representative Bowling, signed by Governor Beshear into law. We're going to take stock of all of our recovery capital in every town, in every county that wants to join us. And we've got Volunteers of American Mid-States as our partner in this project. And we're really excited. We're going to kick this off on September 28th. We're having a meeting of our advisory council. And some of my council members are here now. And we're just really excited about how we're going to transform Kentucky and make it the most recovery-friendly state in the country. I want to thank our recovery community centers. We have 11 recovery community centers in Kentucky, and they sponsored this event. So let's give them a round of applause. I want to be sure to mention CORE. That's our Kentucky Opioid Response Effort. They fund the majority of our recovery community centers. They do amazing work. Dr. Katie Marks, a great team put together by Commissioner Wendy Morris, who you'll hear from later. And they're doing outstanding work across the state, and really appreciate them and all the work that they do. I want to mention Medicaid, our Department of Public Health, the Franklin County Health Department, our Kentucky Statewide Opioid Stewardship Program, and Operation Unite, all tremendous partners to the state of Kentucky as we battle this epidemic. It's my pleasure now to introduce the Lieutenant Governor of Kentucky. Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman is an educator, a basketball coach, a writer, a founder of a nonprofit, and the 58th Lieutenant Governor of Kentucky. And also she's a mom, so I don't know how she gets it all done. She is focused on creating a comprehensive cradle-to-career public education and job training system in Kentucky that will produce future leaders all across the state. Lieutenant Governor Coleman, we're honored to have you here today. I'm going to give you the chance to take the microphone.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for being here. I think the applause that we're getting from the dog is my favorite thing today so far. But thank you all so much for being here. And I come bringing a proclamation from Governor Beshear to honor Recovery Month in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And that's important for lots of reasons. One being that all of us, in one way or another, are on the front lines of fighting the drug epidemic and helping everyone to get to the other side so they can celebrate recovery as well. There is not a single person I have ever known, including myself, who, if they haven't been impacted by the drug epidemic, someone in their family has been, one of their close friends has been. And that's why I say that we're all on the front lines and we're all in this together, even though we all may play different roles. And so as we celebrate this fantastic future that Governor Beshear has built for us with $11 billion worth of investments and 33,000 new jobs across the state so far, creating Kentucky as the agri-tech capital of the United States and the electric vehicle battery capital of the United States. Opportunity is going to be abundant, and we want to make sure that that opportunity is available to every Kentuckian. And so that's why we're here tonight today to celebrate Recovery Month in Kentucky, because our goal is to make sure that everyone who has ever struggled with something that we've all seen, like drug abuse, gets to this other side and can enjoy and celebrate recovery along with us. And your governor and lieutenant governor are with you. Thank you all so much. Van, will you come back up here?
Speaking of proclamations, I also want to recognize Tara Hyde and Mike Townsend. Where are you? There. They both requested proclamations. Tara is CEO of People Advocating Recovery, and Mike is with the Recovery Kentucky Housing Corporation. We appreciate everything you all do. Our next speaker joins us from the Department of Behavioral Health, Developmental and Intellectual Disabilities, where she serves as commissioner. Wendy Morris joined the department in 2013 as a deputy commissioner after previously holding various leadership roles in the field of behavioral health, including inpatient, outpatient, and home health. She previously served as executive director of the Appalachian Regional Healthcare Psychiatric Center in Hazard, community chief nursing officer for ARH, and a clinical nurse specialist for ARH Division of Home Services. Commissioner Morris has worked in community mental health centers, hospital, and academic studies, where she taught and mentored many who remain colleagues in the field today. Back about 7 years ago, the General Assembly sent some money to the Office of Drug Control Policy. And one of the things they asked us to do was to help fund community mental health centers and NAS, neonatal abstinence centers. I didn't know anything about any of that. So my next call was Commissioner Morris and saying, please, can I have your staff to help me? She's never turned me down. I use her staff a lot. They're always there to help. A true partnership between Justice Cabinet and Cabinet for Health and Family Services. So welcome my friend, Commissioner Wendy Morris.
Thank you, Van, and I would agree. We have a phenomenal partnership and we collaborate on a lot of really good work. I want to start by sending my regards from Secretary Friedlander. I'm actually standing in for him today. He was in Seattle for a conference and missed his connecting flight due to some delays, but I did get his speech, so I'm going to use his notes. So really just honored to be here today and to be talking to you, and I think we have a really great turnout. So today we celebrate the thousands of Kentuckians that are in recovery from addiction. We know that people can and do recover from addiction, and we make that journey easier when we talk about recovery in ways that we recognize that addiction is a disease and not a moral failure. When we reject the shame and the stigma that prevent people from getting help. When you meet the incredible members of Kentucky's recovery community, so many of whom traveled a great distance to be here today, and to hear their stories, as you will, it's powerful and inspiring. Addiction affects Kentuckians in every county and in every zip code. And it's essential that we all see individuals diagnosed with substance use disorders as human beings, as our fellow Kentuckians, as people who deserve respect and access to evidence-based, compassionate care and treatment. We often say that healthcare is a basic human right, because it is, for everyone. Too often, people with substance use disorder don't have access to the resources they need to exercise that right, even though substance use treatment is just one form of the healthcare we all deserve. At the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, our goal is to build a system of care that assures services are available statewide and delivered in a way that's accessible, equitable, based on scientific evidence, and focused on the person who needs help. I hope that you all had a chance to meet some of our team members, and some of them were mentioned, but the core, it's the red tent there in the back, team is here, and they work with us at the Department of Behavioral Health. The Department of Medicaid is here, up kind of in the front. I think there's representatives from the Department of Public Health in the one of the campers there in the back, the trucks. And I think DCBS is here, the Department of Community-Based Services. So please try to see some of your civil servants. These are just a few of the thousands of public servants that are working to ensure things like access to health care, evidence-based treatment, recovery supports and services, and harm reduction are available to all Kentuckians. I also want to encourage you, each of you, if you haven't already done so, to please pick up your Narcan toolkit. Again, that's at the bus, the van there on the street with the green awning, and that's our Department of Public Health. And be sure to tell all your friends to stop by before the event wraps up today and get it too. So people always ask, what can I do? How can I help? This is it. This is it right here. Have one of these in your car. Have one of these in your home. Make sure your friends have one of these, because you just never know when you're going to need it. And make sure that you're telling people about it. So it's really easy to use. It's widely available, and it doesn't require any medical degree or special training. All you need is it takes about 3 minutes. I've been through the training before. I went through it today right before this just to refresh. It took literally 3 minutes. Really simple, really easy to use, and you can save a life. So I want you to consider this. Preventing an overdose can not only save a life, but for people struggling with addiction, it's a turning point that leads them to begin the journey of recovery. So let's create a culture where Narcan is normalized. Again, that it's part of first aid kits that we all have in our homes and cars, and where preventing overdose is something we understand is everyone's responsibility. The truth is, when it comes to addiction, to pandemics, inflation, and so many other challenges in our lives, we can only respond effectively when we recognize something that affects one of us affects all of us. And as our governor might say, we'll get through this, and we'll get through it together. So I want to thank you for coming. Thanks especially to those of you who are going to share your stories in a minute. And I would just ask that everyone here make a point to remember and share the stories that you hear today, so that you might help other people make the difficult decisions they need to get on their own journey to recovery. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Morris. And we'll be sure to tell Secretary Friedlander what a good job you did filling in for him. Our next speaker is Brandon Fitch. He's the director of Turning Point Recovery Community Center in Paducah. Brandon has a unique opportunity to use a decade of lived experience and nearly 6 years of working in the recovery field to impact the lives of people struggling with addiction. A Kentucky resident for the last 33 years, he understands the values that we hold dear and how this great state supports people in recovery from SUD. Brandon has worked as a certified peer support specialist, a member of management at Center Point Recovery Center, before taking on his current role. He's inspired daily by the people he serves and strongly believes interactions fuel his passion for recovery. I've got to know Brandon a little bit, mostly over Zoom. It's amazing the relationships we made the last 2 years over Zoom. So it's really good to see him here in person. Welcome, Brandon Fitch.
Good afternoon. So first, how's my hair look? All right. And I hope you guys don't mind. I wrote this down because, as he mentioned, I have lived experience, which also means I have a short-term memory issue. But again, my name is Brandon Fitch. I am the director of Turning Point Recovery Community Center in Paducah, Kentucky. But most importantly, I am a proud person in long-term recovery. First, I would like to say what an honor it is to have an opportunity to speak up here today. And it amazes me every time I get a chance to do something like this. You see, many of us in recovery have been told that we have technically paid our debt to society. But you watch a person in long-term recovery, and you will see a person that lives their lives every single day as though that debt has never been paid. Sharing a very personal part of your life can be difficult. Telling people about the bad things that happened, the bad things that we did, can be tough. But with so many people struggling, it is important that we are able to connect with one another. Our stories can be so different, yet so much alike at the same time. And being able to relate to a person that has recovered from substance use disorder, we are able to grasp on to the hope that recovery is possible. You see, I grew up in what I thought was a normal family. Nonetheless, I grew up in a loving family. My dreams were supported by my mother, and she was my biggest fan. I was a Boy Scout, baseball player, and even a law enforcement explorer, which prepares young people to enter into the criminal justice field. I was active in school programs and did my best to be friends to everyone. Life went on after high school, and my plans to complete college and enter into law enforcement were set aside by a calling to manage my family's business. I worked hard and was even able to start my own company. All seemed to be going well until a minor injury that resulted in being prescribed a major painkiller. And I think we all know what happened from this point. I began seeking for more than I was prescribed. I began doing things that went against every moral fiber in my being just to avoid withdrawal. Of course, that led to laws being broken and consequences to be had. I spent the next 8 years in and out of jails, falling further and further into the depths of addiction. And finally, after 2 years of what I call a judicial timeout with the Department of Corrections, I was given the opportunity to go to treatment at Centerpoint Recovery Center for Men, one of the RKC programs. Now, this wasn't my first attempt at recovery. This wasn't my first attempt at treatment. But this is the first time that I was actually going to give treatment a chance. They told me recovery requires action, action, and more action. And I took those words to heart. I began working on myself, addressing the underlying issues that led me back to using over and over again. And little by slowly, life got better. I continued to give back to my community, the same community that I took so much from. And little by slowly, life got better. I began to love the person I was becoming and did my best to be a decent human being, and little by slowly, life got better. You see, I no longer see recovery as something that I have to do. I now see recovery as something that I get to do. I strongly believe that recovery is different for many people, and recovery has many pathways. Recovery is defined as a process of change through which individuals improve their health and wellness, live a self-directed life, and strive to reach their full potential. And if you are improving your health and wellness, and if you are living a self-directed life, and if you are striving to reach your full potential, then you are in recovery, and don't let anybody tell you any different. A lifestyle recovery is amazing, but please don't be confused. Bad things still happen. The difference is that we are no longer adding to those bad things. Lately, times have been tough. The last few years have been a wake-up call for the importance of mental health and recovery from substance use disorder. There are days that you will feel overwhelmed and you will want to give up. Know that you are not alone. You have a network of support. We learn from our mistakes and we get stronger. You have suffered, your families have suffered, and you have faced challenges, yet amid uncertainty, you have survived. Remember, some challenges are more significant than you, and you need your tribe. Let them lift you. Believe in yourself. You do not have to be perfect. Just keep moving forward. If you think you are not making a difference, know that you are. Your direction may seem messy at times, but don't get distracted. Little by slowly, you are making progress. And as you struggle, laugh at yourself as you muddle through. Please don't take it too seriously. This too will pass. Know that you've been through the worst and it always gets better. You have struggled, you have stressed, you have worried, and it always gets better. You have stayed up late at night worrying about a future that seems unclear, and it always gets better. Don't struggle in silence. Share your story, not as a victim, but as a survivor. Hold your head up high. Don't focus on the shame from your past. If you are happy with who you are today, then you wouldn't wish to change a single thing from your past. It has built the most beautiful and amazing person that you are. Hold your head up high. The good, the bad, and everything in between. You see, people who have fought the battle of addiction and found success in recovery provide hope to the hopeless. Hope. And hope is defined as a feeling of expectation or desire for a certain thing to happen. A feeling of trust. It is a simple little word, hope. A simple little word that can be the most elusive idea for a person struggling with substance use disorder. However, hope can be the single most important element in early recovery. Seeing, watching, and speaking to a person that has recovered from substance use disorder offers valid truth that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I would venture to say that we have all been affected by addiction in some way. However, I'm confident when I say that our entire state is positively impacted by recovery. So if you need inspiration, ask the loved ones of those who have found recovery. If you need proof, look around you today, look at the beautiful smiles, listen to the laughter. These are the faces of recovery. We are friends, we are your neighbors, we are your loved ones, we are thriving amongst you because we do recover. Be proud of the steps that you've taken to improve your lives. And one day when you are ready, share your story. Share your story as a survivor and share your story as hope. Thank you for your attention, everybody. Happy Recovery Month.
Thank you, Brandon. Our next speaker is Sue Fox. Sue is a peer support specialist excuse me, at the Volunteers of America Mid-States Recovery Community Center in Manchester, Kentucky. I have visited it, and it is a wonderful place. She's a person in long-term recovery from substance use disorder, and after a long history of drug use, she began her recovery journey 7 years ago in federal prison by utilizing our RDAP program. After leaving the correctional facility, she returned to Manchester, eventually connecting with the local RCC. She's now a peer support specialist and helping others in her community been impacted by addiction. Join me in welcoming Sue Fox.
Thank you, Van. Like I said, my name is Sue Fox, and I'm a person in long-term recovery from substance use disorder. You know, what a great day it is to be in recovery, man. I see these faces around, and it just humbles me, you know, because I know the hopelessness that we feel when we first get here, you know, when we're in addiction. But this is the way my journey started. You know, in 2012, I was arrested for a conspiracy to distribute oxycodone and received a 115-month federal sentence. And I mean, that's not my first time that I've been in trouble. I've had a long history in the legal field, you know. But before I went, there was nothing in recovery around our area because it's a rural southeastern Kentucky, and there wasn't much recovery going on. We had one meeting there that people went to, and it was, you know, and that's all there was. It wasn't like it is today. So while I was incarcerated, I have entered a treatment program they offered. And through this treatment program, you know, they told me to change my thinking and all this stuff. And I'm like, change my thinking? I said, I've thought this way for many years. How do I do this? But over time, things started to click. You know, it just started to play in your head, you know, that there is hope out there. I had a therapist tell me one time, he says, if you can't change it or fix it, you leave it. And that was very impacting to me, because I cannot change my past because it is what it is. All I can do is do better in the future, you know. So when I come home, I come to the halfway house in Manchester, and when I got there, you know, I was like, man, I didn't know what I was going to do for recovery, because like when I left, because it was, you know, over 7 years ago, I didn't know what I was going to do. So when I come home, and I had two friends that used to be in active addiction with me. They was in recovery now, man, and they was like, come up here to this center that just opened, because I come home in October and the center opened in August. And I was like, okay. So I come up there, and I walk in the doors, and there's like 70 or 80 people sitting there trying to accomplish the same thing that I was. And it was a very humbling experience for me, because that wasn't going on in my county when I left. You know, I come home and we have a higher rate of homelessness, people walking around. That's something that wasn't happening when I left. And it was it impacted me a lot. And I'm like, man, how can I help these folks? How can I? What can I do? And I just kept on going around to the recovery center, because it was my safe haven. I think every community needs a recovery community center in it, because it's impacted my life and the people around me, you know. And so I kept on going, and I'm like, they was talking about this peer support and, you know, lived experience. I said, well, I know that. I know all about the lived experience, because I've lived a long life through it, and I'm here today. So I got my peer support certification, and I started working at a treatment facility for women that was pregnant and women that was parenting. You know, and when these women would come in, they was that emptiness in their eyes. I know you all know what I'm talking about, because you all have seen it. And it's real sad, but then I would see the light come on, man. And they was getting it, and lives was changing. things was changing. They was building these relationships back with their children, their families, and it's an experience that I love. It touches my heart, and so there was an opportunity for me because I wanted to do a little bit more. I wanted to be more out in my community because, see, I was a big problem in my community before I left, and now I wanted to be part of the solution. And so I get to, so I transferred to the Recovery Community Center where I do a lot of outreach. I meet people where they're at to try to help let them know that there is a way out. Because in my county, everybody knows me because I'm well known. It's just the way it is. But now today, I try to be well known in a different way, and it's I have a job that I love to do and get paid to do it. It's not like a job, If you're here and you're in recovery, man, you all are miracles sitting around. Miracles. You are the hope shots around in in your community and every other community in the state of Kentucky. For the people, for CORE, for what they do for us. For Van that goes to fight for us. Today I get to go into jails and walk back out. Whereas before, I never did. They were shutting that door and I wasn't coming back out. I know where those people are sitting. I've been in those seats. I earned that seat today. I've earned this seat today, and it's really a humbling experience. And I got a little shocked before I got up here because I didn't know my daughter was going to be here today. And when I seen her, it was really humbling to me. Because listen, I put my daughter through a lot, and I've been able to build that relationship back with her. For her to come here and see me speak, it's really a humbling experience for me. I get to be a mother today. I'm a daughter today. I get to be employable today. I'm trustworthy today. People, and it's just the simple things in life, man, that means the most to me today. And if you're new here, welcome, man. Because I'm sure there's some treatment facilities here with women, and you can do this, ladies. I just want you to know that y'all can do it. At the end of the day, it's going to be okay. And thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, Sue. That was great. I know a lot of you know it's no simple thing to get up here and tell your story. It takes courage. I really appreciate Sue doing that and Brandon. Next, we're going to hear from Juanita Everman. She's the Achieving Recovery Together co-founder. Juanita Everman knew she had a calling. As someone personally impacted by the opioid epidemic, she wanted to contribute to local response efforts and begin helping the Winchester area heal from high rates of substance use and overdose. Over time, she connected with Amber Hall, who had lost her spouse to overdose and had struggled with substance use herself. The two formed a bond, and together the women have formed Achieving Recovery Together, which is helping individuals in Winchester and Clark County recover from overdose, connect with individual peers from their community, find treatment and other resources. Several years ago, when CORE first started, we went over and met with the folks from Winchester, and they're an impressive group, and they've come a long way on their own. And next Friday, the 23rd, 6 o'clock, there'll be an event like this in downtown Winchester that Juanita and her team have put together. She asked me to speak about 6 weeks ago, and I said, sure, I'll come. Then I emailed her the other day, and I said I had a conflict, and she said, I don't want to hear it. You're coming. So we're going to come, Juanita. We're going to get there. Join me in welcoming my friend Juanita.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm a believer in Christ, and I'm celebrating 26 years in long-term recovery with my husband, my family. My name is Juanita. I am co-founder and executive director of Achieving Recovery Together. My struggles have been with codependency, sexual abuse as a child, and substance use disorder. I was born in Clark County, and I have 7 siblings. I was raised in the country, not having the same experience as other kids. I was sexually abused when I was about 5 by a family member. It happened a few times. I didn't know how to stop it, and I was afraid. The person was confronted, and it never happened again. As I got older, I realized that event had done what that event had done to me. I was exposed to things before I should have been, and it affected all my relationships. I got married at 16, had 2 children by the time I was 19, and divorced by the time I was 24. I had no idea about marriage or relationships. I went from my family to a controlling husband, and when we divorced, I made a wrong choice and turned to drugs and alcohol. My lifestyle was that way for about 20 years. I have been married 3 times, divorced twice, and I was always trying to find me. I have always felt I needed someone in my life to be whole. I didn't feel good enough or worthy of anything on my own. I also tried to control my relationship by doing whatever it took to get someone to love me. Drugs and alcohol became a big part of my life. I was not the mother I needed to be to my children, and my self-worth got lower and lower. I moved from here to California, then to Texas, Florida, and I ended up homeless in California with my daughter and my granddaughter. I sold what I could and started the drive to Texas. I stayed in Texas long enough to make enough money to get home. Coming home, I continued the lifestyle of drugs and alcohol. I met a guy in a bar and was attracted to him. We started dating and moved in together. We married October the 29th, 1990. I became pregnant in May of 91 and started to think about my life and where I was at. I wanted our children to have a mom and dad. I started trying to fix my husband to make him change. I spent 4 years trying to control him, trying to get him to do what, trying to get him to see what he was doing for his family. He felt he was only hurting himself. I did so many things to make him come home when he was supposed to. I was out of control, not present for my children. Step 1, my life was unmanageable. Substance use disorder affects the whole family. I hid what was going on from my parents and everyone around me. Then one day he came home, had been out all weekend as usual, and said, I need help. This was the beginning of our recovery in January of 1996. He started as an outpatient program and then continued in AA, and I went to Al-Anon. We were active in AA and wanted to know more about God. We joined Calvary Christian Church in 96 and went to AA less. In 2006, we were introduced to Celebrate Recovery and started a recovery program at our church. It was a great timing because I needed to work the steps, and it was a requirement to be a leader. I still thought that everything was my husband's fault, but going through the step study changed my life. I realized that I had buried my past deep down, and lived as someone else, always wearing a mask to be whoever I needed to be at that time. All the hurt of my past came out in my actions, 20 years of choices. The program saved our marriage, our relationship, and our children. The steps helped me work through all my issues. I was able to work through my past and was able to forgive the person who hurt me as a child. That was huge for me. I was also able to forgive myself and heal. My husband is now in full-time recovery and an ordained pastor and regional director for Celebrate Recovery. He is over 9 states. God is good. We hosted our first Recovery Month event, Rally for Recovery, in 2016. The second was in 2017. We have lost 2 nephews and 2 nieces to overdose. And even though I tried to be the example of what a new life can be, they didn't see past the drugs. I was moved to do something to help. I had a burning desire in my heart to make a difference. We wanted to do more in our community for those struggling with substance use disorder. We wanted to be there, to walk alongside those who didn't know what to do or how to get help, to give them hope for tomorrow. God moved in me and provided a way. I had been diagnosed with ovarian cancer in 2013, went through surgery and chemo, and thought I was done. I didn't let it control my life, even though I went through several reoccurrences and surgeries through 2020. I leaned on God for my strength. I was determined that I was going to see a nonprofit start, that before I left this world, that there would be help for those who could not help themselves. In 2018, our nonprofit was established, Achieving Recovery Together, ART, all on a dream and help of volunteers. We had no money, but I had faith that God would work that out. I had researched faces and voices of recovery and wanted to follow that model. We are a recovery center that's open for anyone who is seeking help. We have a quick response team 24/7. We do transports, peer support services, support groups. We work with the court system, drug court. We have several partners in the community for recovery. No matter what, no matter how you do it, we will walk with you through it, is our motto. We're hosting our 7th Rally for Recovery this year, and I want to thank all who have been responsive and been involved in any way, and to my husband and family who have given so much. Without everyone, this would not have been possible. I share my health struggles because I feel like it's my battle now. I beat drugs and alcohol, and now it's my health. This is my trial, and I have to face every day. Everyone has a battle. We have to work a program to keep us going in the right direction. Without God and my recovery family, I would not be able to do what I do. In 2021, we lost another nephew to SUD. He was part of our team at ART. We had filed a Casey's Law petition in 2018. So as I see it, we had 2 more years with him. Don't enable your family member reach out and get help. Don't let the stigma of addiction keep you from helping your loved one. Clark County had 187 overdoses last year, and 30 of those were deaths. A couple of my favorite scriptures, Joel 2:25, I will repay all the years the locusts have eaten. And that's what he has done for me. 26 years in recovery, and all the years before I've been paid back. And then Psalms 30:11-12. You have turned from me my mourning into dancing. You have put on my sackcloth and clothed me with gladness. To that end, that my glory may sing praise to you and not be silent. O Lord my God, I will give thanks to you forever and ever. Thank you for letting me share. It's an honor to be here today.
Thank you, Juanita. Our final speaker is David Brummett. David discovered substances later in life than most. He was 35 the first time he experienced an illicit substance. Addiction consumed his life very quickly and caused destruction. He lost everything, including his freedom. David claims that incarceration combined with residential treatment saved his life. And I know there's a number of folks here that have that same experience. He's an alumni of the Hope Center Men's Recovery Program, where he also served as a staff member. David currently serves as program manager with Voices of Hope, a Lexington-based recovery community organization. David provides direction to 13 staff members and multiple recovery support and outreach programs. He is also a student pursuing a social work degree. Through long-term recovery, David has been able to mend relationships, return to college, find a career he's passionate about, and discover peace he didn't know existed. Let's welcome David Brummett.
Good afternoon. I know it's warm out here, and I appreciate that you all are being patient. I'm honored today to stand among so many people who have gathered to celebrate and advocate for those in recovery from substance use disorder. I'm excited about the movement that's occurring here in Kentucky and across our nation to reduce the stigma associated with substance use and to make treatment options, including medication for opioid use disorder, more accessible, and also additional harm reduction resources. When most people meet me, they can't imagine that I'm someone who's in long-term recovery. Some of the groups that I've had an opportunity to speak with will say to me, "You look like the teacher or the counselor or the guy we thought was going to lead the group today." Some other people say I'm a rule follower, maybe even a square. It's okay, I know. But I had one guy who I will never forget his response. He said, "You look like the guy that does my taxes." It's okay, it made me laugh too, right? But I am living proof that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. I'm not sure what those individuals thought the perfect picture of someone in recovery should be. I know that when I grew up as a child, I had a picture in my mind of what someone who was struggling with alcohol or substances looked like. For me, that came from TV or the movies and my trips to my aunt's house in Cincinnati. I grew up in the country, so I experienced things when I went to the city. But what I've learned throughout my recovery process is that addiction does not discriminate. It comes in all shapes, sizes, races, cultures, social statuses, and it's affected the majority of families throughout our state and nation in one way or another. It's ravaged communities and altered the course of many people's lives, like my own. So yes, today I can proudly say I'm a person in long-term recovery. My story, though, is quite different than most. Many of the people I know who are in recovery found addiction early in life. For me, it didn't occur until the age of 35. I'll never forget the day that I asked my friends, "So what does it feel like?" Keep in mind that up until that point, at 35 years old, I had never taken part of any substance, including alcohol. As much as I wish I could go back in time and change that moment of asking that question, I can't. That question, followed by my use of opioids for the first time, changed my life forever. Opioids quickly consumed my life and destruction followed. My professional career evaporated. My relationships with family, including my children, vanished before my eyes. And I quickly watched the reflection of myself in the mirror become someone I no longer recognized. As I became more dependent on substances, my level of desperation quickly increased. That desperation led me to behave in ways that I never thought I was capable of, including breaking the law to support my addiction. I overdosed several times, but thankfully I was around people who cared enough to revive me and save my life. In December of 2014, I lost my freedom due to my actions. I can now say, it took me a while, but I can now say incarceration along with residential treatment saved my life. I've served more than 3 years in a state prison, and I'm an alumnus of the Hope Center Men's Recovery Program. It was the Hope Center that helped me connect to a 12-step program, and I discovered a group of people that I could relate to. A group of people that understood my struggle and the fears that were controlling my thoughts and behaviors. And this new community truly loved me back to life. After completing the Hope Center treatment program, I was given an opportunity to serve as a peer mentor where I could share my experiences with other clients and mentor them. I was also given an opportunity to become staff at the Hope Center Emergency Shelter. In the shelter, I was able to provide support to those experiencing homelessness, and I developed a deep appreciation and passion for the struggles that they face every day in their life. I'm grateful for the opportunities I had at the Men's Hope Center because it was through those experiences I began to believe in myself again. I began to believe that I could be more than my past, which included addiction and incarceration. When I was released on parole from prison 4.5 years ago, I was told by many people that it would be impossible for me to be successful again. I was told that I just needed to accept that I would be working a minimum wage job and probably living in my mom's spare bedroom. I was then and am now eternally grateful for my freedom. However, those comments they frustrated me. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to dream and aspire for something bigger than that, and I wanted to overcome my past. In the past 2 years, I've been able to enroll in college and complete an associate's degree and to continue working toward a social work, even made the dean's list. I've been able to obtain an apartment, purchase my first ever in my life brand new vehicle. I've been able to restore many broken relationships. My confidence in myself, along with a faith in something much bigger than any of us, has grown tremendously. And I've discovered a peace and joy that I never knew existed before. For the first time in my life, I'm comfortable in my skin and I know who I am. I was also given an opportunity by Voices of Hope, a Fayette County-based recovery community organization. They were willing to look beyond my past and not allow it to restrict me and my potential. They believed in me, and I hadn't experienced that in a long time. In the last 1.5 years, I've been able to grow into the position of a program manager. I now provide oversight to several recovery and support and outreach programs. I support a team of peer support specialists who use their own lived experiences to relate to and walk alongside our participants. Through Voices of Hope, I've learned that recovery can look many different ways, and that I can respect and support someone whose recovery is different than my own. I've learned the value of using person-first recovery language that offers support rather than increase stigma and put someone down. I've gained knowledge about medication for opioid use disorder and its benefits, and how it's helped many people, including my own brother, to form a productive and healthy life. Prior to my position with Voices, I had very little knowledge about harm reduction. Now I'm able to direct a team that provides overdose response training and distributes Narcan, distributes fentanyl test strip kits, and encourages people that are continuing to remain in active use to use in the safest way possible. I've learned how to implement a form of recovery support that is grounded in compassion, with a desire to help someone move forward regardless of how big or small that step may be. As much as I let my past define me over the last 10 years, I can now declare that I am so much more. Yes, I am someone in long-term recovery, and I'm very proud of that. But I'm also a gay man, a father, a son, a brother, an uncle, a loyal friend, a professional, a mentor, a student, a Christian, a pianist, a great listener, an empathetic and supportive person, someone that enjoys life, and someone worthy of love, and someone that loves. Recovery has helped me rediscover my life. And I might even say that recovery has given me the first real version of life. Through recovery, I've been able to discover myself and work through so many of the traumas and challenges from my childhood and early adult years. In closing today, I stand and celebrate with those of you that are here in recovery, regardless of whether that recovery is just a few moments or many, many years. Thank you for showing me that recovery is possible. Had it not been for people like you, when I began this journey, I seriously doubt I would be standing here today. However, the more important group is if you're here today struggling and you're trying to find the way out. I want to remind you that you're loved and valued. I can't promise you that it will be easy, but the one thing I can promise is it is possible. And there's a community of people, some that look like me and a lot that don't, who are waiting to embrace you, to accept you, to support you, and to love you back to life. Thank you.
Thank you, David. That was great. I want to thank all the vendors. Appreciate you all being here. But can we have one more round of applause for our speakers that told their stories up here today? That's not easy. Our vendors, thank everybody that come. We appreciate it. COVID kind of knocked us out of the Celebrate Recovery Month thing for a couple of years, but we're back. And I want to recognize Beth Fisher and Destiny Bray. Raise your hand. So when we started planning this, Beth was working with CORE, so she didn't really have a choice. She had to help us. Then she moved to Medicaid. And she said, well, I'm over at Medicaid now. No, you're not getting out of this. Right, Walter? We said, no, Beth, you got this. And she's done a great job, her and Destiny, of putting this together. Please help me thank them. Again, we all know this when we got here today. Recovery is possible. We have thousands of Kentuckians who, as I say, have been to the gates of hell and are back. And they're living productive lives, and they're contributing to their communities, and they're helping to fight this disease. So we celebrate all of our recovery folks in September, and we celebrate you all day long. But I want to say this, if you know someone who's struggling, you can call 8338-KY-HELP. That's our statewide call center, and you can start a recovery journey today by reaching out and calling that number. Thank you all. See you next year.
If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction or in recovery and needs guidance, speak with Turning Point's team of peer support specialists by calling 270-444-3621. You are not alone, and we are proof that recovery is possible.
It was awesome. It was good to see all these people coming and sharing their stories, especially Brandon. Even though I know he was a little nervous, I think he was a little long-winded.
What do you think about the fact that
I'm just kidding.
everyone left when he started speaking?
It's okay. I know he tends to make me want to run off too, but he pays me, so I'm here. No, it was fun.
Thanks, Nathan. Doing a great job.
Matt, what did you think about it?
I went to the bathroom the whole time.